life doesn't get easier and the weight doesn't get lighter, you get stronger. That's how life works, right?
Yes,
Um,
sir.
that's something that I really wish that people would accept, um, because then more and more people would lean into the I guess the painful things in life. There's this inclination we have to run away or shy away from that stuff, and then you just die the death of 1,000 cuts instead of just facing shit head up. You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Let's go.
Welcome to Citizen. We've got a special guest today, Kerry KingBrown from BlackWolf, which is sort of like Uber. Before we get into all that, the business stuff, let's talk about you for a moment. Where'd you grow up?
Originally, I grew up in New York, Long Island, Amityville to be exact. And then I moved to Georgia when I was about 9 years old. And then, circulated back from Florida back and forth.
What was in Georgia?
My mom was trying to get the hell out of New York.
Mm.
The MS-13 was taking over Amityville. Gangs were coming in. And she's like, I'm out of here. It costs too much. Let's get some land in Georgia. So I was new to it.
What was it like growing up in Long Island, I guess? I mean, certainly it wasn't always MS-13.
It's different, right? So Long Island is different from Brooklyn. It's different from Queens. I mean, we were more in the suburbs. Before that, I was in another place called Rockland, and that's like the country of New York, way, way, way up north. But it was cool, man. I mean, you're enjoying the bike rides, hanging out with your friends, playing basketball outside. We didn't have an Xbox. We didn't have, no cell phones or nothing like that, man. So it was cool. It was the New York life. Playing in the snow, 20 degrees was normal for us.
And what'd you do down in Georgia? How was it different down there? I mean, I grew up in South Carolina near Clemson, and it's I remember it being unnecessarily humid all the time, which is fucking annoying, to be honest.
No, that's Florida. Georgia was a culture shock because, like I said, when I came down here, it wasn't too much diversity. I was growing up in a place called Loganville, and again, it was a culture shock. When I was going to school, it was the first time I've ever seen racism, and I'm just like, what the hell is that? It was the first time somebody called me a monkey, and I laughed. I was like, that shit is cool, but it was different from the North. The North when I was growing up is so diverse. When I came to the South, it was totally different. It was totally different, but I got accustomed to it.
What's that like? I guess, well, you said you were 9 when you moved down there?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's, I don't remember seeing, I lived in a black neighborhood when I was a kid, so I probably wouldn't have seen anything like that because I was a minority there, technically. But
right.
Yeah, there's still quite a few assholes around. I don't know. I don't remember running into that very much in my youth, to be honest. But what was that like in Georgia? It must be a pretty big culture shock.
It was, dude. Like I said, a black kid from Amityville, Long Island. I'm Caribbean. Both my parents from the Caribbean islands. My father's Jamaican, mother's from Barbados. So it was different, growing up in a Caribbean household. You hear all the music, all the stuff that we like to do, the festivals. Growing up in New York, going to Jamaica Avenue, being able to shop, you see Chinese, you see blacks, you see Haitians, Jamaicans, Bajans. Every type of culture is in there. And then when you come to Georgia, it's like a boom. It's either you're white or you're black. You're like, God damn, dude, where are all the Caribbeans at? What the fuck are the Jamaicans? So it was a culture shock. And then we learned about Stone Mountain and Laconia and Decatur and Atlanta. And I was like, oh, okay, they're over there. So when I came to Georgia, Georgia was more like it was separate. And I'm like, oh shit, in New York, your next door neighbor could be white. Then you look to your left, it could be a Jamaican. So it's always mixed, right? And New York is hard to be racist. It's extremely hard to even have racism in New York. It's there, but at the end of the day, when I came to Georgia, that's when I realized this is the South. It's totally different from the North.
Yeah, I think same with Asian. It's like, that Chinese guy over there. It's like, well, close. That's close. I was in the military. The military is like that too. It's just like there's too many different types of people around to focus on one particular group. So you just got to hate everybody all the time. That's how we figured it out. Just like this stuff, honestly, cancel culture today, the way things are, we never would have made it. because we were just fucking relentless talking shit to each other, and nothing was out of bounds. Your race, your mom, nothing. It was like whatever, and don't let anybody sense that it's getting to you either, because then they're just gonna fucking double down on it. I mean, there's no way getting out of that.
Yeah, it's like Bernie Mac at his time. He could not be alive today, dude. They would cancel the shit out of his ass.
Yeah, I don't think any of those guys, to be honest. Are any of those guys from that tour still
yeah, I mean, well, they don't do this shit anymore. Like, who was?
Bernie's dead.
Steve Harvey.
Yeah.
And who else was there?
Cedric the Entertainer was there.
Yeah. D.L. Hughley.
Yeah,
The only person that's missing is Bernie.
Yeah, Bernie's dead. Yeah, D.L. Hughley still talks quite a bit of shit, actually.
Yeah, he's more of a liberal person now. He's a whoever pays him.
Yeah, it's true. So you've you moved down to the South, and then what'd you do in high school? What was high school like down there?
Yeah, football. Dude, I love football. When I came down to Georgia, it's when I first started playing football when I was 9 years old.
They take it seriously. Florida and Georgia and Texas take football fucking serious, man. They are not fucking around down there. Like, man, I live in Austin, and you drive around Texas, some of the stadiums here are bigger than college stadiums. For high schools, I'm like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yes, dude, I do. When I was out there, I'm like, God damn, this is a high school? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, there's no fucking way, bro. But again, man, when I moved to Georgia, I wasn't even thinking about football. A kid, I was in elementary school, had the same name as me. It's two twins. They were like, you're fast. You should play football. I'm like, fuck football. I don't want to play anything. And they convinced me, and I started playing, and I fell in love with football. I was a safety. I was getting all type of interceptions. I went up to play baseball. I was hitting all these type of home runs. But then when it came to how much we have to pay, my mom was like, I can't afford that shit. So I just stuck with football. Growing up playing football, I took that very seriously, very seriously. So I started when I was 9 all the way through high school, college.
Where'd you play in college?
Miami.
The University of?
Miami.
Yeah, what'd you do? What years were you there?
09. So I was recruited in 09.
Tough times in Miami back then, especially considering fucking Tebow's ass was down there lighting it up in Florida the whole time.
Yeah, I was after Tebow. Tebow was...
He graduated in 09, I think. I think it was 09. Wait, he won the Heisman in 08, and then he graduated in 09, I think.
Yeah, because he got drafted. So...
Yeah, because he was in the playoffs in 11.
Because when I was coming in, E.J. Manuel was a Florida State quarterback. Tim Tebow was leaving. I forgot who else was replacing Tebow. And then, what's the other guy's name? He plays for the Browns now.
Jameis Winston?
Yeah. So me and him are like in the same class. That 2014 draft.
Crab legs. That dude got a lot of heat for stealing crab legs from like a fucking Winn-Dixie or what was it? Was it
it was crab.
Was it Publix? Yeah, I don't remember which grocery store it was, but yeah. He's a special guy.
Very special. I mean, now he's humble now. In high school I played against Geno Smith. He plays for the Seahawks now. So it's like going to Florida, man. I mean, I've seen all the superstars, man, down there. I mean, how many people that came out of that school and got recruited and drafted. Like I said, Florida was a different world. I grew up in Broward County, North Lauderdale, and Florida is different from Georgia. Florida, everything is cultural. I mean, you have every nationality in the state of Florida, man. So I was used to that. I kind of like Florida more on the cultural side, but where I would rather live, Georgia. Couldn't do it in Florida unless I just had a lot of money.
Yeah, well, it's true. The places in Florida that are nice cost quite a bit more than other places. And I like the Carolinas just because of the climate and stuff. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I grew up there. I like walking outside and immediately sweating for some fucking reason.
Boy, dude.
I could do without the hurricanes. But, what are you going to do? You win some, you lose some. So football, high school, college, what'd you do after college?
So during and after college, man, of course, I went up to the NFL, tried out for a couple of teams, realized that, dude, NFL is totally different from college. This shit is faster. I mean, I've seen guys smaller than me that would just rank me and jack me up and throw me over. I was like, God damn, dude. So, but in between college and high school, I was actually doing security. I was working little small odd jobs, man, just to make a little ends meet. And I realized that it was either going to be football or it was either going to be security. So when football didn't work out, then I just went headstrong into security. Of course, I did other oddball stuff, but I at least started on the path of, I want to do private security. Like, what are the ins and what are the outs of it?
What was it about security that kind of drew you to that?
So many answers to that, but I'm gonna tell you like this. It was something about doing something for a person and seeing the response of their face, or being able to do something and a person actually trusting you, right? That did something for me. And at that time, being 18, 19, I didn't really see it like that, but it was like, damn, maybe I can make a living off of this shit. Like, I can make a living off of fucking protecting people. But at the time, I didn't know exactly what I was saying.
Sure. I mean, that's just the base level masculine urge to protect people, I think, right? I mean, it starts with the family, obviously, but I think let's call it the radicalist version of that is to want to protect everything around you, I think, right? That's why people join the military and shit. It's definitely a healthy impulse, but it is like, being in sports is helpful for that kind of stuff because you get exposed to the right kind of masculinity and not pussies. You know what I mean? And it introduces a level of accountability as well through multiple mechanisms. Because one, there's accountability if you have good leadership, but also the game itself will hold you accountable. If you fuck around and don't train yourself right, then shit's not going to go the way you want it to, right? So it drills into that's why I love sports, whether it's individual or team. I like team sports better. Some people are better on their own, I guess, but I like team sports because it teaches you accountability for your own actions, but also to other people, right? In a way that most other stuff just isn't going to do it at that age, especially in American culture right now. A lot of these opportunities to hone that like masculine protector accountability sense in your youth is disappearing. You know what I mean? So we're getting weaker and weaker as a result.
I mean, it is. And of course, I have a different point of view for the things that I've done and what I've accomplished now, man. I just have a different point of view. And of course, we're going to get into it more, but, when we start asking the right questions, like I just see it totally different now, man. And to me, it's mind boggling how I view it now and where we're at.
How you view what exactly?
The economy, the world today, how people are treating each other security-wise on the aspect of that, and even how security personnel treats each other. It's crazy when you look at it from the inside.
Give me an example.
All right, perfect example. I know a lot of security professionals in this industry, and I know a lot of them that hate me now, right? And it has come to my attention that when you are a person staying in your own lane and you're doing what you have to do, a person that makes way more money than you, may not be known, but makes way more money than you, they're the same person that will try to hate you and make sure you don't survive, which is mind-boggling, right? You normally see that, or they, in the black culture, they say crabs in a barrel, but you mostly see that when you have people who don't have anything going for themselves. Now it's the opposite. You have people with a lot going for themselves who still don't want to see another person win or shine.
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of ways to, I guess, succeed or get where you want to in life. One's to be a trailblazer, do something nobody else has done before, which you're going to get a lot of smoke if you do that. Then you can follow in other people's wake, which is legitimate if you're not so inclined to start something new yourself. Look, being the first person to do something is not always the best idea. But there's a third category, and it's people who try to step on other people's heads and tear them down as they're moving up, and that person is a piece of shit, right? So unfortunately, there's quite a few of those out there. I don't understand that impulse. It's never made any sense to me. Life is in no way a zero-sum game. Like, I don't know where this impulse comes from that someone else's success represents a threat to yours. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, to be honest, but it does seem like a pervasive attitude.
Yeah, I mean, Trust me. Like I said, I've I got some shit for you that'll just blow your mind. And the type of people, and the stance that they're at. It's like I said, every single day, man, I'll probably get an email or some type of text from LinkedIn. And and like I said, I can mention names. You'd be like, yeah, I've heard of that person and the things that they've said, in my space. But of course, that's for, maybe a later discussion or a right question to even bring that out. Because again, I just want to blurt out everything. I kind of want to follow, the segments of your questions.
No, I don't give a shit. Say whatever you want, man. There's no format to this show. We just kind of do whatever we want. But yeah, there's certainly a lot of examples in the veteran community as well. I don't know why. It's a very toxic culture around everybody. And anytime somebody rises above the group, there's this inclination to grab them and bring them back down for some reason. Instead of, like, you would think at least the first impulse would be to try to follow in their footsteps. As the saying goes, imitation is the highest form of flattery, right? Like, if you appreciate what somebody's doing, try to replicate it. You know what I mean? But you should do that in your own life as well. You just one of my buddies writes these books, and a quote that pops up from time to time in the book is, imagine the person you want to be and act like that person, right? Because that's what makes you that person over time. If you make the right and wrong decisions. And again, it's another reason why I like sports and team sports, especially because it gives the young mind the opportunity to see the intrinsic connection between effort and outcome, right? Like, there's so much entitlement and expectation these days that, well, this guy is successful or this happened for him, it should happen for me as well. It's like, you saw him like make a great play, run a pick six back or something like that, and you're like, oh damn, that should have been me. It's like, well, you don't see the hours and hours every single day of athletic performance and hitting the tapes to know tendencies. There's so much stuff that goes into being a great athlete. It's like, that really is something that I feel like is going the way of the dodo in our culture. Like, we don't know where our food comes from anymore, and everybody's eating processed garbage. I heard a very alarming statistic recently. 68% of the calories consumed in America are ultra processed food. That is fucking crazy. Like, I eat meat and eggs and shit. I don't eat any of that nonsense. And it's we're like, the farther away you get from doing the hard thing, whether it's butchering an animal or farming or taking accountability for your own shit or whatever it is, right? The weaker you get. That's just a fact. That's how it works, right? There's some gravity to that process that makes you stronger the closer you get to it. And the farther away you get, the more of a bitch you become. And we are a nation of bitches right now.
Man, I mean, you're not lying, man. I mean, so how I look at this, I remember, 21. Yeah, I was 21 years old, and I really started getting heavy into security and meeting the right connections, meeting the right people, man. And I started to hang around a lot of these guys that were going to the military, going to the Army, JSOT guys, Deltas, and just meeting these guys and looking at their mindset, right? And I've never enlisted, but one thing about it, I love the mindset of these military guys. I'm like, wow, how did you guys become this fucking crazy? Because one of my buddies, like I said, we both played football. Then he went to the military, became a SEAL. And I'm just like, he came home just fucking crazy nuts. I'm just like, God damn. But the mindset of it was phenomenal. And I said, what if I can try to change my mindset into a military personnel or, whatever training that they went through and install that into my security aspect or my security life into it. How can that translate? Because I notice a lot when when veterans come home, man, they get treated like shit. I'm just like, I hear all these stories about the VA and how long they have to wait and this and that. And I'm just like, holy shit, that's crazy. So, at the end of the day, I was like, man, I love the veterans, and not even with the BlackWolf app. Like, I want to build a second home for fucking veterans, man, to treat them like the bosses that they fucking are. When they come home. So that's the ultimate goal for me. it's like I love military guys. I love the veterans, man. I want to support them. My if it was a football team, I'd choose the fucking Navy SEALs as my number one team because those are the most badass motherfuckers on earth to me. Even the JSOS, the Delta guys, man. Just being around them. I remember the first time I met Eric Prince, I was like, holy shit. It's like, you look like a small little guy, but you're a badass, So it's like just being around certain people and watching their manners and how they operate. I'm like, that's the coolest shit in the world. So when I started to create the BlackWolf app, and I was like, hey, I want to somehow, some way build this motherfucker where it's a portion to all veterans. Like when they come home, I want them to have the vehicles. I want them to have the contracts, because again, if you can go out and do what you do overseas, hell, you can do when you get home, show some respect for these guys, right? So, all salute goes to the veterans, man. Like I said, that's a big push for the app. But the flip side to it, how the app was actually started was I had a client that was human trafficked, and I had her for 2.5 years. And this lady didn't talk to me maybe until 2 months left of the contract. And she gave me the initial idea to create some type of transportation system for people like her and her daughter. So that's the idea and how the BlackWolf app came about. It was never a ride share. I never thought about serving thousands of people. That was never the idea. The idea was just really driving her or people like her community. So if you didn't know, that's how that came about. And it evolved into what people see today. But like we were just talking about, there's came a backlash to that, which blows my mind. So you ever heard of a company called ASIS?
Yeah. No.
All right. So a guy reaches out to me on LinkedIn and he goes, hey man, I'm in an organization called ASIS. That's okay, cool. He goes, but I need to let you know something. He goes, they've been badmouthing you. I said, well, who is they? He goes, well, the whole organization. And they put a post out and pretty much said that if this guy tries to apply for a job, which is my name, do not hire him. And he wrote me this long thing. And I said, well, how many people are dissing me? He goes, maybe it's 60-40. 60 hate you, 40% is kind of optimistic. And for him to reach out to me and say that, I'm like, what the fuck did I really do? What the fuck did I create that makes people like, we hate this guy? But even me building out the app, I've seen a lot of comments, a lot of racism shit too as well. There's guys on LinkedIn, like one guy's name is Lasora or some shit like that. And I had to look him up because I didn't even know who it was. And he wrote a long post about me, and it just pretty much downing me and whatnot. So again, I never, even till this day, I don't understand the point of dissing me or saying shit that's not true or, making fun of me. I don't understand, but I understand because they don't understand how I'm moving. They don't understand how I'm operating. They don't get it. It's brand new. They don't understand I have 3 other apps that I've created that I haven't put out yet. That's really going to fuck the whole industry up. But I've learned to shut the fuck up. I've learned to stay in my lane and keep my head down.
Yeah, ASIS, by the way, for the audience, is it's an organization. I mean, it started back in the day just to exchange information mostly between people that do government security and close personal protection. But it kind of morphed into, well, what it is now, ASIS International, and they issue certifications, I guess, for, I think, something security professional, close personal protection, PCI, which I believe is private investigation, and there's a couple other ones, I think. But yeah, any organization like that, it's like certified organic. It doesn't mean anything. Like they don't have the fucking master key to executive protection, and if you don't kiss their ring, then they'll send their people after you. I've seen that happen before. I ran a pretty sizable private security company in California for a little while, and I mean, I use some of their training materials and stuff, but yeah, I never really engaged with those guys much. It was it's kind of stupid, to be honest, but yeah, it's not surprising. I mean, there's always assholes, running around trying to stop people from doing stuff. My thinking is, if you see somebody doing something and they're completely wrong, I mean, what are you going to do about that? But if they're close and you've got gripes, why don't you just mentor them or something instead of being a cunt about it? You know what I mean? Like this kind of thing definitely needs to exist. We live in a dangerous world. And if people want to patronize a business where they feel more secure getting their public rides, why would you get in the way of that? It doesn't make a lot of sense.
I mean, like I said, dude, the week before I went to Texas, somebody wrote me on Facebook and said that if you come to Texas, we're going to hang you. And I replied, I said, oh, well, I'll bring the rope. They didn't write back. Another person reached out and said, hey, I work for the CIA. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And they were like, we're going to come to your house and close everything down. I said, that doesn't fucking make any sense. What are you going to close down at the house? Then they said, oh, we'll kill your family. I've had emails come to me and say Negroes shouldn't have security companies. I've had stuff, like I said, another guy, security personnel on LinkedIn. He was like, this is why black men shouldn't have private security companies. They need to ban you. I've seen some guys on LinkedIn personally, they said you need to go back to Africa. And I wrote back, well, which part? I said, because I'm from New York. And another guy was like, yeah, he does need to go back. So I laughed, LOL. And I said, well, I can buy you guys a plane ticket back to Europe if you want to go. Let's go. So, like I said, this has brought a lot of attention, but it has brought out, I guess, people's feelings because, again, they don't know. I didn't create anything to hurt anybody. I created a platform for us to fucking now go into the technology world. But after all this backlash, I said, you know what? Fuck it. I'll be fucking Batman. I'll be that fucking symbol for security. Like I'll do it, but I think God gave me this to show me my true strength, right? This isn't something created to be like, oh, I'm the biggest and the baddest. Like, hell, that's not what it is. I just thought of something and I wanted to run with it, right? I wanted to help people. So I'm starting to see anytime, doesn't matter what color you are, anytime you create something new, people are going to fucking hate it. They're just going to be like, oh, hell no, it can't happen. Now, again, has it came with the racist part? Yes. But see, that's the thing. That's on a lot of different parts. It's not just white, that's black folk. A lot of black people has emailed me and told me, shut it down. Like, and I've met with some investors, and one guy said, I would never invest in a dark guy, and you have nappy hair and you're ugly. So, and I recorded him, and we were downtown Buckhead in Georgia, and the reception lady, she looks like this, and I was just staring at him because he said it kind of loud. She was like, so she walks over, she goes, is everything okay? And I had my gun on the table in my bag, and I was looking at my bag, and I was looking at him, and if I'd have said anything wrong or if I did anything, I wouldn't be here today. But it's stuff like that I've faced on a regular basis, doing this. I've had drivers come on board to try to tear me down. I've had drivers, get rides and leave the customer hanging and then go on Facebook and LinkedIn and post, oh, I joined the BlackWolf app, but I didn't take the ride. And I've seen it all, bro. Like it's tough. It's tough. I don't know if Travis have ever been through this. The guy who started Uber, I have no clue. I've watched that little Netflix stuff, but again, I think mine's is different. I don't have any funding. I'm doing everything out of pocket.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've had some bad press over the years, certainly.
Oh yeah.
And that, it's a good question, I guess. How, like, to me, a background check that, like, if somebody is super bad, you'll be able to figure it out. But a background check fucking doesn't tell you shit. You know what I mean? Like, everybody that's ever committed some act of international treason as such, in the modern era at least, had a background check. They had a security clearance. Probably otherwise they wouldn't have had access to the information that they had. So there's only so much you can do. So what's the process you go about for vetting people? I mean, I've done 1,000 background checks in my old company. But it's like even the deep background checks are still kind of on the periphery. You don't know what's inside somebody's head. So how do you go about all that? Like what's your process for selecting a new candidate and then putting them through?
So realistically, man, I mean, the process is not hard, but it's not simple, right? So we actually partnered with a couple of, like my godmom, she's out there in California. You know how you have to do the psych test to go and do your guard card. So we have multiple people that we partner with that we send them through like 4 or 5 different orientations. We do the level 4 comprehensive background check. And you said something very important. It's to the point where, yes, you can do all these things and make sure that they're fundamentally straight, and you do the orientation, and then you can even do a polygraph test and pass all those things. but thank God that the people who we've recruited, which are most of the veterans, most of the law enforcement, they have been straight on and on point. But again, you still have those who will come through and they are on point, but they still have this menace in their hearts. That's the difference between hiring just a regular person and hiring a person that has the credentials and the standards that you want, but they still have this malice in their heart to, kind of destroy the company from the inside. So with that being said, it's multiple steps. Once a person applies, we send a name through my director of operation. We run it through the state, make sure they don't have any felonies. Then we get on a phone call with them. We do the orientation, and that's like a prelim. We tell them how the organization works, non-disclosures, NDAs, non-competes, and if they want to continue, they'll the emails back, get yay or nay. Once they get to that process, that's when we start going through the process of, hey, submit all your documentations. And once we start doing that, we start doing the background checks. We start going to the state. We start making sure that your licenses are not expired. And if they're expired, we have to update them because it's either you'd be armed or premium. And then we just open up the comfort class, which is the same process. It's just a different vehicle. Once all this process is done and everybody's approved, you go to the last step with this, which is one of our partners. It's kind of like a polygraph where it's like an interview. If we have a partner in the state that we're in, they're going to go and sit down and talk to whomever. But that's the last step when they're sitting down in front of that professional person, watching their eyes and how they move and how they sit. And once that's completed, you're brought on board. You are invited to become a driver. That's the last step. You have to download our app because you can't. You have to be invited. And once you're on board, you're on board. So again, I would say 95% of our drivers are still here. Again, most of them are law enforcement, most of them are military. And that's the good thing. We've only had maybe, I would say, 4 or 5 people that made it through, but had different intentions in their heart to kind of figure out how's this guy doing it and then just fall off.
Is there a train up after they get accepted into your program? I mean, certainly you have protocols and such that you want everybody to do the same thing all the time. I mean, just from a liability standpoint, you're already at a disadvantage because you're putting someone under your name or LLC or S Corp in a car with strangers and a gun, right? And in some cases, not always a gun, but forget about just driving the car properly, which is something that, Uber has to deal with. And all the stuff that comes with that. You've now introduced an element of protection and even a weapon into this situation. So clearly it is a complex situation. So I just assumed that you would have some kind of what we would call TTPs, like standard protocols, I guess, for everybody to follow.
Yes, sir. And like I said, and that's the thing that they go through orientation. So we have our CRM system that all the drivers are put into place. And like I said, each week they're updated with new information. Each week they're updated with continued education, whatever state that they're in. And every state that we're in, we're partnered with private security companies that join us that has the liability of the drivers. Most of our drivers, like in Texas, a lot of the drivers have their own private security company that will obviously take the liability of them. Even though, right now in the rideshare, we're not doing security through our app. Now, if security personnel comes up, that's a different situation. That's when we go to our partners, or that's when we go to BlackWolf Executives, which is the security side to the BlackWolf app. So I've learned and I've watched myself to make sure I have to now divide. BlackWolf app is divided from private security. It's not all in one. When we build our second app, which is called Phase 2 or MVP, that's when it will be combined into one element. But that's me building my platform out, and that's when all the integral parts will start coming in, and all the questions that people have is like, well, it's going to be in here. So that's what I've been working on very, very diligently.
What state are you trying to get to? I mean, like what was the final product that you offered to customers? What is it going to be, or what would be the the menu of offerings?
So I kind of want to keep that secret, but I'll tell you like this. So think about what I'm building is going to be a platform. Right now, people think, oh, that's a rideshare. No. I'm building a platform. So my last end game is going to be something called a BlackWolf list. And that is the end game. Now, I'll tell you what that is off camera. Because again, there's a lot of stuff that I haven't put out yet, but that is the end game.
Cool. What cities are you in right now?
So, of course, like I said, we just did Texas. So we're, Dallas and Fort Worth. Houston and Austin will be opening up first quarter. Atlanta, we have Orlando, Tampa. We're pushing to open Jacksonville, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Nashville, Phoenix, and that's it. And then, of course, we have other states that I'm looking to open as well.
Vegas would probably be a good place for that, to be honest. And you said you're looking at Houston, Austin, Jacksonville. What about what other cities are you looking to get in the short term? I guess when I say short term, I mean within the next year, I guess.
The next couple of months. It's funny you said Vegas. I just got off the phone with another powerful person in Vegas, man. So Vegas is definitely the next one. The DMV, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that's good. And what would you say is the I guess I don't know how you guys do it. Is it an algorithm based approach to your pricing based on the time of day and all this bullshit, or because that's what Uber does? Uber has an algorithm that determines price. They have there's high and low caps. They have what everybody, I think everybody's run into surge pricing on the holidays at some point or another, which is fucked up, but it's supply and demand. So what are you going to do? But
yeah.
Do you guys have like flat rates for certain things, or how does your pricing model work?
So we don't do surges. Like I never, because again, I'm not a rideshare guy. I'm a protection guy, right? So for certain places, prices will be higher than other places. Like New York is not going to be the same as Iowa, So New York it will definitely be a little bit more expensive because everything is more expensive up there, right? And we'll only be in certain places. So when it comes to surges, no. And even if we do a surge, it's not going to be like Ubers. It may be like, hey, if Uber is during Christmas break, a normal ride, which used to be 30, now it's 90, ours would be like, hey, we may go up $5, because again, we're already higher than Uber and Lyft. So I don't really do the surges because again, I'm not a rideshare guy. I don't give a shit about that. Mine is get your ass in the car. We're going to make sure you're safe.
And what you said you're more expensive than Uber. Do you know like percentage wise about how much more?
I would say about between 10 and 12%. But again, it always depends like what city you're in. So the person's in Georgia, if their base is like 46, that's the base, right? In New York may be like 50 or 55 because it's different.
Yeah.
It's a different pay scale. So normally I say between 10 and 12%.
I mean, that's not as big as the gap between, let's say, Uber Comfort and Uber Black, right? Like Uber Black is probably it's like 2 to 2.5 times more than Uber Comfort, I think, on average, something like that. So that to me, that's kind of commensurate with the price of even just being in a nicer car, right? Because who wants to ride around in a fucking Toyota Tercel from 1970 or whatever the fuck?
I don't know what the hell that is.
Yeah, I haven't seen one in 30 years, so. Yeah, that's cool. So, once there's a guy in your, so let me back up. What are the credentials required, I guess, to do all this stuff? Because with Uber, it's just a temperature somewhere roughly in the 90s and a driver's license, right?
Yeah, ours is totally different, bro. So of course, I tell the background, the military guys, the veterans, the law enforcement, those in the private sector. The thing about it is the way we're going now is very simple. Even if you're a law enforcement officer, whether you're retired or not, we want all those documentations. Do you have your CCW for the state? Do you have your security license for the state? Just like in the state of Texas, you guys call it level 2, 3, and 4. Like I just finished doing all mines, and I'm going through the process for them to accept all mines. So those are the main things. When it comes to carrying, you have to be licensed in the state.
Well, in Texas is a constitutional carry state, just like Florida and Georgia and Tennessee. So 4 of the states you're in at least are that. But you want people to have the permit as well?
Correct. So you can have the permit. That's self. That's for yourself. But as far as anything else, we want you to have the security license as well with the background, with the minimum of 4 to 5 years, right?
Mm.
And it's the fact that I know, when I first came in, oh, you doing private? Like, no, it's the fact that the main reason I said I want you to have those years of experience, situational awareness, de-escalation, if something does happen, right? Because Uber's policy, we don't want any of our drivers to have guns. You fucking right, because you hire anybody. But with ours, that's our policy, right? There's a lot of Uber drivers I know that carry their weapon because of the climate and the people that they pick up. They're picking up anybody. We're not, right? So in the case of if you had a daughter and she's driving and let's say she's coming from a party and another girl does not like her because of the boyfriend or whatnot, and she tries to set your daughter up, right? So that driver's going to have, de-escalation. He's going to have evasive driving. He's going to have situational awareness, like, hey, who the fuck is following us? You know what I'm saying? So he's smart enough to understand certain things of his surroundings. So it's things like that I thought outside the box and say, what if I can now bring that into a rideshare world, right? So that changed the element. And there's a lot more to it that I have, but that's the thought and how I've been thinking, right? Like I said, what if I made it feasible to the rider, but feasible and enough and worth it to the driver? And that's why certain places prices are a little bit higher than others.
Yeah, sure. And then, the more the service gets used, usually the price tends to level out over time as well. That's just how it works with startups, man. I've been a part of quite a few of them at this point in my life. Quite a couple right now, actually. And that's just kind of the process that it goes through, you have, especially if you're at a fixed price model, you know what I mean? And technically you're in variable price because you have to pay for gas, right? And gas is in good times when the economy's good, it's not volatile. But right now it's all over the fucking place, right? So it makes it difficult to keep up with that kind of stuff. But what are some of the challenges you've run into as far as running the business? Forget about recruiting for a minute, just like running the business in general.
I would say the biggest problem that I have, it's a problem, but it's not a problem if you get what I'm saying. The team, building that team out, having the right people that's really going to back you up, right? So a lot of people, when they see the videos, when they see all these things happening, they think that we have 20 people on the board. That's not fucking true. 2 people really runs everything that you guys see. It's me, my director of operation. And then that's an inside secret, for all the listeners. They'd be like, what? 2 people? Yeah, literally. And we're bringing on interns now, so from the beginning, that's the biggest thing. It's the team. But the main reason why it's been so hard is because not too many people are going to help you when you're starting something and not getting paid. Not many people are going to really believe in something like that. They're like, yeah, I'm good. I got my own stuff, which I get it. But that's been my biggest challenge and my biggest prayer to God. I'm like, I can't do this by myself. Like, yeah, I can try, but this shit is hard. Why the fuck would you give me something this hard? Like, I don't know if this is a blessing. I don't know if this is a curse, so the team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the same reason that you put more weights on the weight or on the barbell. You know what I mean? Because life doesn't get easier and the weight doesn't get lighter. You get stronger. That's how life works, right?
Yes, sir.
That's something that I really wish that people would accept. Because then more and more people would lean into, the painful things in life. There's this inclination we have to run away or shy away from that stuff, and then you just die the death of 1,000 cuts instead of just facing shit head up. You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense to me. But when you open up in a new state, I'm just curious as a business owner myself. About how much money does it cost you to open up in each new state? Because for us, we have a booze company, right? Hard seltzer company. Costs us about $50,000 to open each new state for attorneys' fees and licenses to sell in the state and all this other bullshit, right? And it's that is our biggest hurdle to grow in the company is just capital, right? Everything else we're good with. We got we have contracts with a bunch of different universities, Illinois, Michigan, Penn State, bunch of them. But opening each new state is a pain in the dick. So what's it like for you guys?
Realistically, it depends what state we're going into, right? So Texas was a climb because of the amount of money. It takes about $10,500 The only reason why, like you just said it, the only reason why it's hard is because it's just me putting my own money into it. Right. So if I had investors, if I had different partners, this would be easy. It takes about 3 weeks to get everything finalized in the state. And that's really it. Other than that, it's really about marketing, which I do organically. And I, trust me, when God, provides us with an investor, that's where things are going to like just boom. Because if we've been doing it now without money going to each state, we know the algorithm that it takes to open up a state. So yeah. Every state is different. Every state costs different. Like yours is 50,000 each state. Ours is different. Texas is 10. Vegas is 5.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not a bad thing. I know it seems shitty right now and a pain in the ass, but to be honest, one of the things that leads to startups failing in years 3, 4, and 5 is having too much money in years 1 and 2 because you spend your way out of lessons you need to learn, right? It's just part of the growth process for business. And if you skip those things, you're going to keep making the same mistakes into years 3, 4, and 5, except for now, instead of spending, $100,000 a year on stuff, you're spending $2 million a year and you're losing 20%. You're like, oh, where's my net revenue? I expected to be profitable by now, and you're not, right? And then your business fails. So it's like, yeah, it kind of sucks in the meantime, but it's not a bad thing at all.
I mean, listen to me. That's you hit it fucking on the head, dude. That's one thing I learned about a month ago. I was sitting there, I was just praying, and I'm like, okay, this sucks. It hurts. Like, I can't get a job, and I'm spending my money on this, and the business is slowly growing. But I learned everything about, well, not everything, but I've been learning everything about the rideshare industry. I'm learning how to code my own app. I'm learning how to, when I go inside of business meetings, I know how to speak about the app. I know how to promote myself. I know how to promote the business. I'm like, holy shit, I've been learning the payroll. I've been holy shit, I've been learning the whole entire business. So when the money does come in, we know exactly where to put it and how to market. So like you just said, dude, there's a lot of stuff I've been learning without money.
Like, yeah. I mean, that's a really important part of the process, in my opinion. It's like, as a startup, you want to stay as lean as possible, right? Which means you and probably a couple of your buddies are doing all the work. But one of your goals as you start to become successful has to be to try to work the company out of your capability in that position, right? So if you're handling, let's just say for instance, you're handling the logistics, and that's not really your thing, right? You want to get to a point where you can hire a professional logistics person, like a chief operating officer, to handle that bullshit. Work your way out of jobs so you can go back to your core competency, because the thing that you're best at is what makes the company successful. You're doing all this other stuff to keep it afloat or whatever, but the thing that you're best at, that is the company. That's the core of the company, right? And the sooner you can get back to that, the better, typically. So yeah, I mean, it's a struggle in the beginning, for real, because you're doing what in the military we would call it mal-assigned, right? Like I'm an infantry dude, and I'm over here doing armory stuff. I'm not supposed to be doing this, but here we are, right? It's just, that's how it is at a startup. It's like all hands on deck for the first couple of years.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I like it. I love it. I'm Caribbean, man, so I'm so used to getting down to the nitty gritty. Seeing both my parents come here with fucking nothing and just take odd jobs. That's American story. When you see your parents struggle your ass off, and then you come in and you take over. That's just what it is. So I don't shy away from it. At first I did. At first I told you I wanted to get a normal job again. I'm like, this is hard. I don't like when, people trashing my name and, people coming to my house and taking pictures of my house. That shit was fucking weird. And, at the end of the day, but now I've built that fucking hunger. Like, I gotta be successful, bro. I don't give a fuck what it's going to take. I'm going to be successful.
Yeah. I mean, as far as talking shit goes, if somebody's not paying your bills, then fuck them.
Right.
I don't listen to any of those people. And if somebody shows up to my house, that's gonna be a bad day for them.
You're damn right.
I will murder everybody that shows up to my house.
Yeah. Me too, brother.
So what's next for you guys? What are you looking forward to in the next? Let's say, where do you want to be by this time next year? At the end of next year?
Oh man, so when I was in Texas, I met up with the Dallas Mavericks and their G League. They want to partner with me, man. So what I see, we're in December 2024. By this time next year, man, I want to be in Vegas, and I want to at least be in the DMV area. if not New York and Pennsylvania. But I want to be established in those states. I want to, per month, I want to be at least doing 1,000 to 2,000 rides a month. That's the goal. I want to at least have, at least 2 to 3 contracts in each state. And I want to have my second app brought out and introduced into the industry. And, like I said, and that's just on the goal of the ride share. On the personal side, I want to be a household name. I want to have a standalone brand that people know who I am outside of BlackWolf app. And that's what I've been working on, man. So those are my 2 biggest goals, making sure BlackWolf app is up and running legit and, making the money, making the money, making an impact in the industry, slowly pushing out the Ubers and the Lyft of the world. And then apart from that, I want people to begin and understand who Kerry KingBrown is.
And let me, this is another question. Like I think the percentage of gun owners in this country is still under 50%, something like that. Now, the fastest growing contingents, and I don't know if this is surprising to anybody or not, but the fastest growing contingent of firearm owners right now is black women near cities because they're tired of all the crime and bullshit. That's the fastest growing group of people that are new gun owners. Second fastest is all women together. Black women is the number one. Did you grow up around guns and shit, or how did you? What was the, aside from just the security aspect of it? What was it that got you into that part of it? Just out of curiosity.
What really got me into it, like I said, I was when I came to Georgia. When I graduated from high school, one of my buddies was he was working for a company called Gavin the Becker.
I know Gavin.
Yeah, and him and his dad had like a collection of guns. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this motherfucker? And he started teaching me about guns, started teaching me how to shoot. And me, I'm a black kid from Broward County. I'm like, I don't know if I can shoot. I know how to hold it like this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He's like, no, dude, no. I'm like, oh, my bad. But that's what started it. Like I said, he was in the Navy. He was started teaching me about Navy SEALs, and I used to watch all these fucking movies. I'm like, yo, that is badass. So that's what intrigued me about guns, right? And then when I came back to Georgia, I actually went to Gavin the Becker and graduated. I just started learning more by putting myself around the right people, right? And I got into it. And hell, I started buying a bunch of guns and teaching myself. And my buddy Maurice, he owns 150 acres. He trains a lot of the SEALs, a lot of the Army guys, and now he trains normal people. And went down there so to learn how to go in and out of shoot houses. But I learned that through Gavin the Becker. Then when I came here, it just stuck with me. Like, I just fell in love with, I don't know every gun, but I know I'm a rifle guy, short barrel rifle guy. I love 300 Blackouts, 308 Win Mags. Like, I'm that guy now. Like, I'm not a pistol guy, but I'm a rifle guy. So again, that's what started it, dude.
Yeah, I mean, you should probably put that on your website that you went through Gavin's training. It's the best executive protection training that exists, in my opinion. He's also a very interesting man and thinker. His book, The Gift of Fear, is something that I think everybody should read. Whether you're working in the industry or not, I actually encourage a lot of women to read it because he does a really good job of breaking down how, we've got 4 walls and a roof and a bunch of computers and shit, but really we're just animals, you know what I mean? And your instincts are way smarter than you are. The way that a fucking fox knows it's a fox, or how does a spider know that silk comes out of its ass, you know what I mean? It's like that there's something called genetic memory, and it is, in our case, about 300,000 years of evolution teaching you what is a threat and what's a benefit, right? And if your spider senses start going off, there's probably something wrong. Like, just because you can't identify it at the time, your brain has probably matched some pattern that is a threat somewhere, and even if it's in your periphery, and it's something you should pay attention to. I mean, that's what he means by the gift of fear. It's like all emotion is not intrinsically good or bad. It is just data, you know what I mean? It's something to feed through your filter. And I think that's a really important part of just being a conscious human being these days, especially if you're a man, and a man that's armed and capable of helping other people. You should always be on the lookout for that shit.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I love when they first flew me out to California, man, and I think that the training is in Glensdale, I think, and I remember it's off of Shirley G, and I'm like, I thought we was in a goddamn Men in Black type of goddamn commercial when we rolled up to this damn boys camp. What the fuck is this? But the amount of information that you learn, even going through the shoot house, the knock list, the mile runs you have to do, the training, the fighting. I'm like, this is, to me, that was like the closest thing to like Secret Service training, and I'm just like, they're so similar. But yeah, man, I mean, like I said, going through that in 2017, like that was a big boost for me to have that name and training behind it, right? And then things started to fall in place. And then I went through the athletes, the actors. Then I started doing tours on my own. Then I got into the political world. So like I said, it has helped. But where I'm at now at a point in my life is I will forever be a protector, forever. And any opportunity that I get to work on big details, I'm always going to take it, always. Even though I have the BlackWolf app, but I'm always going to take it. And, seeing who I am now, it's like, okay, I want to kind of be like a Gavin the Becker, not who he is and what he is, but I want to put my own spin on it. I think every protector needs to write a fucking book. I honestly, I do, because every protector has a story to tell. Every protector is totally different in their own element. So again, man, my ultimate goal is to kind of be like a Gavin the Becker, but not a Gavin the Becker, just a Black Wolf, not a Gavin the Becker, but a Black Wolf, and to share my experiences and how I saw, how this was done, my teachers, my leaders, those who influenced me, but put my own spin on it. And I think that's why God gave me the BlackWolf app, to change the trajectory. And I guess he chose me to go through this bullshit. I don't know, I guess because I'm strong enough to go through it, but some days I don't feel like it, but hell, I accept it.
Yeah, it is what it is, right? So let's, before we get out of here, how there's quite a few veterans and police in my audience. How can they be part of your program, provided they're in a city, I guess, that you provide services? What's the process like?
So the process, man, is simple, man. Go to the website, www.blackwolfapp.com. They click on drive to apply. And they go through that, they fill it out. I would say within a couple of hours, they'll get a response and we'll move them forward. But like I said, we take care of all of our veterans, and once they go through that, of course, like I said, the CRM system is where they upload all their credentials from the military and their current status of where they're at, man. And again, we just have a special way that we treat veterans when they come on board.
Yeah, just to repeat, because you broke up a little bit, go to the website. It's blackwolfapp.com and then click drive.
Click drive to apply.
And there's there's comfort, which is, I believe, not an armed position. Is that correct?
Correct. Right.
And then there's BlackWolf Premium, which would be an armed position. And the requirements, you can see them on the site, but the requirements for both are 4+ years in military, law enforcement, or security. And then obviously if you're going to be, I would say you probably need a guard card for both. Is that right?
Yeah. So whatever state that you're in, whether they call it a guard card but you got to have the security license to go to the armed part.
Okay. So just for premium, you need a guard card and a CCW then.
Well, so, all right. So the main reason why you see premiums is because we don't want to put armed, premium, and comfort. We didn't want 3 different type of applications. Mm-hmm. So whether you're armed or premium, you will fill out the premium. Comfort, I mean, if you're doing comfort, that means you have a certain type of car. So let's say a guy, he's armed, but he drives a Toyota Corolla. You are armed, but you wouldn't be under the armed banner. Only reason for that is because nobody's going to pay the price for a Toyota Camry. Sure. Right. Yeah. So those are the things. So yeah. So if you are Army, if you are premium, you do the premium application.
Cool. Any other information you want to put out to these people before they look into your business?
Man, I think the main thing is we're a people-driven business. Everything has been organic. Nothing has been paid for. This is a grassroots company. We are veterans first, law enforcement, and then the private sector guys. Again, it's going to take a village. It's going to take a nation to really build this out. And we want the people to understand and know that we are aiming to be the #1 most secured ride-hailing platform in America. But it's going to take the help of those who hold the value and who are knowledgeable of what I'm doing, right? And I'm building a platform for all.
Cool, man. Well, look, guys, if you're in the DFW area, Atlanta, Orlando, Tampa, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Nashville, or I think Phoenix up
Phoenix.
yet, or is it
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
soon? It's already
No,
up.
Phoenix is open. We're looking for more guys in the Jacksonville and the Tampa, and especially in the Orlando area. Those are our three big markets that we're looking for more people.
Cool. Yeah, go find them. Check them out. Thanks for coming today, man. I appreciate it. Hopefully, you guys can get some recruiting out of this. I know there's a lot of people out there that would be interested.
Oh yeah, Houston and Austin, man, they're next. So let's do it.
Yeah, if you swing by Austin, let me know. Where are you guys located? You in Dallas?
So no, I'm in Atlanta. I was in Dallas.
Okay.
You know, just to do the promoting.
Okay. Yeah. Well, if you swing through Austin, let me know. You can come by in the studio. We'll have a conversation. Otherwise, everybody go check out BlackWolf app and check out Kerry KingBrown as well, since you're working on your personal brand. Thanks for coming today, man. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you, my brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you all for listening. This has been Citizen.